Back on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Thanks for the listen today. You can get us at WeGotEd.com, RawStory.com, RingOfFireRadio.com. And, of course, as you listen to this, know that there is video that goes along with it. It's called video casting. I made that up, by the way. You can see it at all three of those websites. All right. A lot of talk about process, a lot of talk about bipartisanship, a lot of talk about a new way, a lot of talk about amendments, all this stuff that we're supposed to believe in all of a sudden. Folks, follow the money. Follow what their real intention is. Mark Pocan, Congressman from Wisconsin, joins us. He's on the House Budget Committee. Mark, good to have you with us.
Oh, thanks, Ed. Glad to be here.
All right. Pie in the sky by Ryan yesterday, or is this really going to be a new way, and is there going to be new money for funding infrastructure? He's pinning a lot of things on the highway bill. Your thoughts?
Well, a lot of this was kind of set up for him before he came in. Speaker Boehner, got a budget deal done, got the Export-Import Bank reauthorization done, and the committee had already marked up their version of the transportation bill. So really, it's kind of not fumbling it during the week. What will really be the test is, do the hardcore Tea Party folks, once we get through this, because this has already been set up, allow him to govern after this point? And you're right, there's been a lot of talk. We just need to see some walk.
All right. The number of amendments, that can get hung up for months. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people saying yes with their fingers crossed.
Well, exactly. And I talked to people as I got on the elevator from the opposite side of the aisle as well about this, and they're all waiting to see exactly what it means. I mean, ideally, this is a situation where everyone should be heard and shouldn't just be brokered by a few people. However, the reality is there's over 200 amendments on the transportation bill, and you could have a lot of votes, and some of those could be very tough votes, and we're going to see if this is what the Tea Party really wanted, or in the end is what they really want was the stymieing of anything moving forward, period. And I think that's the real test that we're going to see in the coming week.
So we have a real possibility here of a shutdown of the government based on how everybody decides the funding bill for transportation should go forward. I mean, that's it, isn't it?
Well, I don't think you'll see a shutdown of government over the transportation bill, but we're going to have a bunch of appropriation bills coming up where, again, if everything is open to any amendment possible, and don't forget, that's what's shut us down the last several years from getting appropriation bills done.
Yeah.
That could be the real test, because if you start having one of the things I'm watching are anti-labor amendments that maybe try to attach to some of these bills, and then suddenly an appropriations bill that otherwise may move forward may be opposed because of a rider or two that are completely unrelated, but are allowed through this process.
Okay, tell me about that. Tell our audience, what kind of fly in the ointment would that be?
Well, it would be huge because potentially, if they start doing amendments on Planned Parenthood or they do amendments on collective bargaining or Davis-Bacon or some of the fundamental principles in labor, suddenly, it's going to be hard for us to move a bill forward if it's got some of these poison pills attached to it, because that would be just bad. And that's going to be the real test through this process is, does this just open itself up to that, or does this merely giving lip service to what the Tea Party said they wanted? We're going to find out how this unravels in the next 2 months.
Does $325 billion work with a highway bill, in your opinion?
Well, I'll tell you, if we can have a highway bill that goes beyond a couple months at a time, that is very, very important.
You don't want a patch job. I got it.
Yeah, the patch job doesn't do anything for local communities, states trying to determine their projects. Doesn't do anything for a contractor who has to buy equipment to do a project. In Wisconsin, just to give you an example, recently a report came out that we have the third worst roads in the country, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation. Part of it is a governor, Scott Walker, who hasn't put money in infrastructure, but part of it is we have to make sure there's federal dollars to move some of these projects forward. So everyone's district is touched by the transportation funding, and that's why I think, unless there's some really bad stuff added, this will move forward.
Okay. Steny Hoyer says the new speaker's refusal to rule out controversial rise is inconsistent with his duty to the responsibility stewardship of the House. What does he mean by that? Is this a very professional way of saying, buddy, what you're talking about isn't going to work?
Yeah, when you're Speaker of the House, you're no longer a ranking chairman or a ranking member on the Republican Party on a committee. You're now Speaker of the House. That means Paul Ryan is my Speaker as much as he is Louis Gohmert's Speaker.
Yeah.
And that means if you're going to do something that stymies the process because you're going to allow these really completely extraneous amendments on that could block bills going forward, then you're going to be back to the same dysfunction we've suffered since I've been here. So, I think that's the warning he's trying to give him. As much as Paul Ryan has to give something back to the Tea Party for kind of allowing him to be Speaker.
Sure.
As strange as that sounds, there's also a real problem with that process.
Okay, so the elevator conversation in the rotunda is, by the Republicans, well, we'll see if this works.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I just came up the elevator today. Someone said, well, this is, the right thing. We should all have a chance. We'll see how it happens. And yesterday someone's like, yeah, we'll see. You can just tell there's a hesitancy. It is the right thing to allow amendments to move forward if they are germane, if they are relevant to the conversation. And, yeah, we should have tough votes. That's what we got elected to do, not just, sit back and not move anything forward. But if you're going to put Planned Parenthood onto everything, or if you're going to try to take away collective bargaining rights on things, then you're going to have real problems.
Final question. How long before we get to the privatization conversation? Because that's where they're going to try to get the money. That's what I think. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you, one thing to watch, and I've been saying it since I got here because Wisconsin is one of the testing grounds on this, but watch out for taxpayer-funded vouchers when it comes to schools. Okay. I saw it in amendments around portability of funds. We right now are really trying to raise awareness on this issue, but one of the areas they would absolutely love to privatize is education, and what that would do is destroy the public education system we currently have and give money to people already attending private schools. So things like that we really do have to watch for, because that is part of their DNA that they want to move forward.
Which would be limiting opportunity for low-income neighborhoods and families, no doubt.
You cherry-pick students, kids with disabilities, kids in certain school areas would not have any opportunities, and they'd have less funding for public schools. And in the end, that just drives and dumbs down education. And, that's one of the pillars we need for the economy. So things like that you have to watch, because where they can see a way to privatize and incentivize, if they find a way the Koch brothers can make an extra $1 billion or $2 billion, they're going to do it.
Mark Pocan, Congressman, Wisconsin, good to have you with us. Sits on the House Budget Committee. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Ed.